Hello YouTube and fellow Star Wars collectors! On this episode of Toys All the Way, we'll be taking a look at some recent reveals that we saw yesterday for the vintage collection. Now, it's been quite some time since we've seen a couple reveals, and yes, a lot of the time was being dedicated to the Cantina HasLab, but it's always nice to see a lot of figures being released for our line. So, happy to see something at least starting to make its way out there, especially before San Diego Comic-Con. Kicking things off, we have a special action figure set from Season 3 of The Mandalorian Shriek-Hawks. And I've got to say, it's nice to see this kind of release again. We haven't seen one of these since the 501st. And this is a good way to get more figures out there, but not necessarily carded, because I don't know if every one of these characters needs to necessarily be carded. And maybe you just want to have one of these open or on display. Now, this set is a kit bash of different Mandalorian tooling that we've seen in the past and on some of our recent releases. We have a female Mandalorian, which is pretty much a repaint of Bo-Katan with a soft plastic belt that's been upgraded and a soft plastic scarf. For the most part, she looks pretty good, but I will say that the Bo-Katan sculpt is a little on the short side, and it would be nice if they, maybe updated this someday. The deluxe Sabine Wren that we've got is a bit of a better figure. Her torso is just a little bit more elongated that looks, just a little bit more natural in my opinion. Moving on, we have another character here that's got a soft plastic comma, which is not exactly my favorite. I prefer soft goods, and it really allows for better mobility, so I'll be curious to see how that kind of, works out when I get this in hand, but I will probably get a second one of these sets just to upgrade that figure with soft goods that I'll kind of, do myself. But for the most part, he looks pretty good. I also noticed that it looks like he has a new helmet because that one is a bit similar to Din, but it does have a rangefinder, so looks pretty good. He also has the jetpack that we've been seeing with the Fleet Commander and that we'll probably see with Cobb Vanth when we get that figure. Moving on, we have another character there that's pretty much just a kit bash. It has lower legs from Boba Fett. It's got, the upper thigh armor that we've been seeing on the Fleet Commander and Judge. And yeah, these are just nice kit bashes to get us more figures from the Mandalorian series. And then the final character has a bit more new tooling on it. It's got a new upper armor chest plate. It's got a new helmet. It's got lots of different paint applications. And then it's got lower legs, which appear to be the Death Watch Mandalorian that was originally from Season 1. Now, I will say it's a little disappointing because I noticed that the 6-inch version has different legs here, and I'm not really sure why they opted to make ours with this leg. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments down below. But the 6-inch version does look like it's a little bit more accurate to the character that we saw on screen. But for the most part, like I said, this is going to be a nice addition to our Mandalorian collections. And I would like to see Ragnar, hopefully, one day. These characters need someone to save. We have Paz Vizsla. We have the Mandalorian. We're definitely going to need, Ragnar and maybe that creature. This set will be $64.99 and available for pre-order tomorrow, July 25th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time as an Amazon exclusive. And moving right along, we have the highlight in my opinion, which is Moff Gideon's Imperial Light Cruiser Hallway. This is a playset that is going to be very similar to the Tantive 4 playset, and I gotta say that this one is definitely very cool, and I plan to get a couple of these because this thing is modular. You can hook it together just like the Tantive 4 and make a very nice display for your collection, or an Imperial Hallway that you can use for your toy photography. And as some of you know, I like to take a lot of different photos of my figures, so this one's going to be very, very useful in my opinion. Also because I do have some Death Star walls that I use for my photography, but nothing like these Imperial walls that you saw on the Light Cruiser. So very cool stuff. Some things I want to highlight that are fantastic here is that they actually made doors that, have sliding mechanisms on them, and that's really cool. I like seeing that feature on the Tantive 4. I was very disappointed with the Navarro Cantina and how it had a cardboard piece for the door, so seeing them do that here is very wonderful in my opinion. This thing also has some translucent plastic where you can shine some light through those white panels right there, so that's really cool as well for whether you're gonna have this thing on your collection lit up or doing some toy photography. And there's an amazing video that they put on Hasbro Pulse's YouTube channel, which actually has Emily going in depth about this playset and showing you all the different ways you can kind of connect it together or use it for your collection. So definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it. I will have it linked in the description down below. So naturally, this set will be coming with a carded figure, which, helps multiple purchases, and I think they've actually chosen a really good character to include, and it's going to be a Mandalorian privateer. One of those blue Mandos, that hangs out with Bo-Katan or Axe Woves. And this is actually a pretty decent army builder because, you'll get a couple of these sets and you get to get, maybe 2 to 4 of these Mandos that you can have later displayed either in this set or, just with Axe Woves or being loyal to Bo-Katan and the Night Owl. So a pretty good figure. It's for the most part just a repaint of what we've been seeing with the Mandalorian Judge or the Mandalorian Fleet Commander, but, pretty good figure for the most part. I'm still not a huge fan of those lower legs because it doesn't really get a proper 90-degree bend at the knee, and that's really a big fumble in my opinion. I think I would be much happier with this sculpt if they had done a little bit of a better job in terms of sculpting and attention to detail, especially when it comes to, the practicality of posing this figure. Regardless, I'm very happy about this set. I think it's going to be a huge upgrade to many of our collections, and it will allow us to recreate a lot of scenes from The Mandalorian, but also something they didn't show off, which is the light cruiser battle between Luke Skywalker and the Dark Troopers. I know that was a huge highlight for many Star Wars fans, and this set will actually allow you to recreate some of those scenes or just add it as a display to your collection. So that's something to take note of as well. This set will be $59.99 and available for pre-order tomorrow, July 25th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Hasbro Pulse and Amazon and participating retailers. So be sure to pick up some of these because I think they'll be fantastic. Moving right along to our last 2 reveals, we have some figures that may be a little less exciting for some collectors, but in my opinion, they're actually going to be kind of cool. So first up, we have the Mandalorian Imperial base, which is pretty much another release of Din Djarin, which I know some of you may be very tired of seeing Din Djarin in the vintage collection. But this one is actually going to be quite a decent release. Now the first huge upgrade that we're seeing here is the new style barbell hips, which many of us have been asking for. So that is a fantastic upgrade to this figure. Additionally, I took it upon myself to do a little bit more digging, and I got confirmation that the jetpack is actually going to be the new style peg system that we've been seeing on our newer figures. So Mando actually has a new upper back that, allows you to put in this jetpack and some of the other ones that we've been seeing on figures like Paz Vizsla and some of our other Mandalorians, which is a huge upgrade in my opinion. I have been wanting to see that for quite some time, and I was never a fan of that original peg that he had that was off to the side that you put the jetpack in. So that's a really nice upgrade in my opinion. They did not really highlight that, but I got confirmation that that is an upgrade to this figure. So while it is a little bit repetitive, I do appreciate them refining and streamlining the Mandalorian in the vintage collection. The 6-inch version has gone through multiple revisions, and they've kind of, tried to give them a definitive version of that character. So it's nice that we're also seeing a similar treatment, even though, many of us are kind of tired of seeing Din Djarin in the vintage collection. Now, one thing I will point out is that this figure comes with his standard pistol, which is a little inaccurate to what we see on the card there. He's supposed to have those Super Commando blasters that he took because he was a prisoner, and I think that would have been a nice attention to detail that they would have included. But one last thing to take note of is the cape that is included with this figure. Now, if you take a closer look at the bottom, it doesn't have any of the tears or weathering that we've seen on previous releases. So that is a nice upgrade that makes this one different than the previous versions of The Mandalorian. And finishing off our reveals for the day is Bo-Katan Kryze Plaisir 15, which seems to be a pretty frustrating release for many in the vintage collection. And the main reason behind this is that Hasbro opted to not update Bo-Katan's head sculpt to something that would be more accurate to Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Now, this would have actually been a very easy upgrade for them to do. The hairpiece, specifically, which needs to be updated, is removable from this head sculpt. It's only held together with some glue, so they could have easily taken that off, sculpted something that matched her hairstyle more, and, just upgraded this head. So I don't understand why they did not do that. They did give us the updated pauldron that has the mythosaur on it, which is very nice, and gave us a better darksaber that's made of a more rigid plastic. So that's a nice upgrade as well. But if they wanted to go the extra mile and really wow vintage collection fans, that upgrade to her hairpiece would have been absolutely wonderful to see. Regardless, I'm definitely kind of happy to get this one into my collection. I did want to see her with that updated pauldron, and for the most part, it's a simple repaint that I was expecting. You know, The Mandalorian Season 3 had a ton of repaint potential, and Hasbro is definitely utilizing that to their best ability. It can definitely be very frustrating for many of us when we want to see different characters added to the line and more variety, but for the most part, they are doing a decent job of getting some of these Season 3 characters out there. Now, there's still a bunch that we need to see from Season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, and I would also like to see non-Mandalorian characters from Season 3, like Gorian Shard and Vane and some of the pirates, perhaps. I think things like those would be very energizing to the community. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really helps and is always greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone, and may the Force be with you.